Hello everybody and welcome to another art video. I am Sam, I'm an artist and illustrator coming to you from Ireland. Today I would like to share with you a little tutorial on how to draw and paint with watercolor a snowy landscape, a snowy mountain landscape. If you have been following me, you know that although I live in Ireland, I'm originally from the northern part of Italy, where we have Dolomites. The Dolomites are a big chain of mountains, and since I was very young, I enjoyed painting the mountains, drawing them, experimenting with color to recreate those majestic shapes. Once again, colors, shadows, lights. And so I thought it would be a great idea to share with you all these techniques that I discovered during the years to recreate, to paint those beautiful landscapes. Today I will share with you a short version of this full tutorial. You will be able to find, if you're interested, the full class on my Skillshare account. All the links are below in the description. It's gonna be quite detailed, lengthy. We'll go through the materials, the drawing techniques, the painting techniques, blending colors, and so on and so forth. And the final result is something like this, which is somehow my signature style of painting. So I really hope you will enjoy this video. If you want more insight on how to paint the snowy mountains, please check out my Skillshare class. All the links, once again, are below in the description. And please leave me a comment and follow this account. It helps very much to grow a tiny bit this art business that I'm so very much struggling to get to life. But it's the beginning of the year and we're all excited with a new start. So let's get started, gather the materials, talk about bits and bobs that we need, and then let's get painting neat. The first thing, and the most important, is your paper. I'm using here Arches paper, 300 GSM, 100% cotton. I really hope you can see this from the camera. It's a rough paper, has a big texture. This will help massively when you're trying to create that natural feeling of the rock and the snow showing down on your painting. We need our pencil. This is just a regular 2HB pencil, eraser. Then we will need your array of inks. These are all non-water soluble ink, waterproof inks. I am using as well two pencils. These are from Faber-Castell, their Polychromos range. We have here a light blue and a dark brown, our watercolor palette. We're probably going to use just a couple of watercolors, so I will tell you exactly what you need, and I'm sure you will have them in your palette, even if you have a very beginner-friendly student-grade palette that will be absolutely enough for you. Lastly, a couple of brushes. I have here a Raphael number 2 brush, very thin, round brush, and this French quill brush number 2. So before we start the drawing, let's set up our paper. I do like to tape my page with some masking tape, and surface here is just the back of a canvas board. Okay, your paper is prepared. I'm going to move my painting a little bit so I can put my reference photo there. So let's start with our pencil. What are we looking for the first thing? Well, of course, the horizon. And as you can see from the reference photo, the horizon is more or less down here, which is about 3/4 down the page. The next thing to figure out is the shape of your mountains. So as you can see here, we have three big peaks, and we want more or less to center them on our page. Now I can start from my left peak and start giving some more of the actual shapes that are there in nature. And once again, I'm dividing this tiny shape in smaller shapes. So from the very left side, we have quite of a square peak that goes down almost straight. And that square peak now has some surface that is completely in the dark. So I'm going to mark that. Be very mindful of marking your shadows at this stage. We have a peaky point, and then up almost looks like a hand. And this goes down almost straight at a bit of an angle towards this valley here that I'm marking, and this will be full of snow. And simple as that, you get your drawing done. So as I mentioned before, to ink, I'm using a variety of pens with waterproof ink. It's very important to have a waterproof ink, not to get the watercolor to smudge everything when we apply water on it. So the only recommendation that I have is check your pencil, your pens, your inks, and get as much as you can water-resistant ink. So you can use a fine liner like this. This has a felt tip. Or you can use a fountain pen. It's completely up to you. The first thing that I like to do is to trace the outer edge of my painting, of my drawing. Now, using a different nib, I'm using here a Fuda nib, which is a nib that allows you to get some bolder lines. You can use a wider fine liner, like a 0.3, 0.5 even. I'm just tracing some of the outer edge. As I just said, as you remember, I do enjoy a bolder edge to my painting. Be careful not to smudge your ink, because now it's quite wet, so it's very helpful if you use like a toilet paper, a piece of toilet paper or a tissue, just to put under your hand, and be careful not to smudge the ink. Here we go with the final drawing done. the next step will be to paint. I am not going to erase any more lines. I want all the informations to be on the page when I apply my watercolor. Alright, let's start painting. I'm using my watercolor palette here. Two things I want to remind you. First of all, keep your palette dirty. And I'm mentioning this over and over in my classes. Having your palette dirty helps you for two reasons. First of all, to remember colors. I have all the blues here, the green, the browns, the yellows, the red, the purples. I know the shades there are on the palette and what I want to create afterwards. So I can remember the colors. If you paint a lot, this allows you as well to maintain a sort of style of painting, maintain the same palette of color. It's very important for me to get some sort of consistency, so keep your watercolor palette quite dirty. That will help a lot. Then the second thing is water. Many artists use two vessels of water, one clean and one dirty, to keep them completely separate. I very much prefer to get just one pot of water just to once again help melting all the colors together. As well as if you are out and about, you don't want to carry a lot of water jugs. You just need the minimal amount of water. So let's get our bigger brush wet. This is a number 2 French quill brush. You may use whatever round brush you have, and that will work absolutely fine. So first of all, let's start with the sky. Water, I'm using cerulean blue with quite a bit of water at this stage. The thing that I like to do is to mark the sky first. So as you notice from the reference photo, the sky is darker at the top and goes lighter at the bottom. And we have quite a big cloud coming up here that I'm somehow referencing, but I kind of want to ignore as well. Same big brush, water and burnt umber. Now, what do we want to do? We want to block out a bit of the shadows. The paper is still wet, so I'm just mindful not to get into touching the blue very much. I'm not forcing letting stuff dry too much because I'm always mindful that if you are out and about, you're not going to let your paint dry too much. We don't have much water on this brush, and we want just to highlight some of the shadows in our picture. Highlight probably is not the right word, but you got what I mean. We want to indicate the shadows. And be mindful here, the sun comes from this area, so all the shadows are on this part. And this is just pure burnt umber. And once again, experiment with the color a little bit. Allow the paint to do its work and to be kind of the paint to teach you what you have to do rather than yourself kind of mastering the paint. You can always, of course, use some of this tissue paper to get through mistakes, or perhaps areas that you didn't want to paint and you end up by mistake painting. So here we go with the final painting stage. Back on the big brush, I'm loading some of that gray that we created before using PN gray or burnt umber and ultramarine, or burnt umber or cerulean, and I'm just focusing on the bigger shadows, kind of suggesting something more. Once again, the brush is quite dry, so I just want to suggest a little bit more on the mountains, on the shadows, where really we do have a focus point, a shadowy point. I'm holding my brush at the very end as well. This allows me, as same as with the pen and the pencil, to get some wiggly strokes, and that will allow me to be more natural in the feeling. Focus on the darker part of the painting now. Alright, so we are completely dry, or almost completely dry. Two color pencil, we got a burnt umber and a light blue. I suppose this is cerulean blue. It doesn't really matter, does it? What we want to do is to add some marks. We go with the cerulean blue. Cerulean indicates some sort of shadow and some sort of snowy component. So we will, at this stage, focus on the snow. And with some very, very light marks, I'm just going to reinforce the gray shadow that we have all over. Just here and there. I don't want too much. And I just want very, very light marks. This is just a reinforcement. It's completely optional as well, but it allows us to get a little layer of depth on your snowy part. Once again, notice how I keep my pencil, and notice how blunt the tip is. This is all part of what I was saying, to get more natural lines as possible, to get more squiggly as possible. And I'm just marking here and there, keeping a very, very light touch where the blue is and where my grays are. Just like that, every now and then. When we are happy with that, we can start using our burnt umber with the same motion of strokes. We go to reinforce the rock side, just being super, super light. I think that we are done. So I really hope you enjoyed this little tutorial thingy on how to paint landscape with snow, mountains with snow. It's been a journey for me, as well as I really hope it's been a good journey for you. If you create some of this work, please tag me on Instagram. My account is at IrishFarmArt altogether. You will be able to find all the links below. If you tag me, and if you so wish, I'll be able to comment on your piece and share some feedback with you, how you could apply your techniques, my techniques to your piece, as well as some highlights that I may find interesting for all of us to discuss. And yeah, once again, you will be able to find the full class on Skillshare. The links are down below. I will see you very soon with another art video. Bye bye.